Now I take a privilege and pride to introduce Dr. Dilip Sarkar, who is very well known and a past chairman of Life in Yoga. And he is a vascular surgeon, cardiovascular surgeon, a heart surgeon, and he devoting his life for last 20 years or so. He reduced all of his stress. He reduced his biological aging, and he may be older than me, but he looked very younger to me. And I salute to him and I welcome to him for his own opening remarks today at this Life in Yoga session, which is an annual event. I hope we continue it, and especially Balmukhan and Smita and Tammy will carry it on after us. Thank you so much, and let's welcome Dr. Dilip Sarkar.
Okay, hope you guys can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm on the speaker view or a spotlight. You can put me on a spotlight also. It should be for everybody. Spotlight for all. Okay, my dear brothers and sisters of Life in Yoga, it's wonderful. Tomorrow will be a 7th International Day of Yoga, and today is a Father's Day. So most of you probably don't know the details, history, how the International Day of Yoga has evolved. So I was talking to narration. I told him that let me give you about 15 minutes. I will show you that you'll be surprised. You know, a day does not come so easily from United Nations. People think, oh yes, Narendra Modi came on September 27th in 2014. He gave a talk to have a, hundreds and hundreds of prime ministers are coming to United Nations with multiple requests. So let me share with some slides and you will see the sequence, how it happened. And Rajan is smiling because Rajan is part of it too. And Rajan knows it very well. So I'm sure I have some Rajan here somewhere. Okay, let's see if you can see me. Okay, let me go back to my view. Okay, I need to see myself. Okay, you guys see the slides, International Day of Yoga history, and let me go ahead and tell you a little bit. The first, most of you probably know that the International Day of Yoga was announced by the United Nations General Assembly on December 11, 2014. And at that time, the permanent representative of the United Nations, Ashok Mukherjee, introduced the draft. And this is the first time in the history of United Nations 177 out of 195 countries adopted it, and it became a day without a single vote. And then the Indian Minister of Ayush, and I'll show it to you what the Ayush is, Ayurveda, Yoga, Unani, Siddha, Homeopathy, which was formed after Narendra Modi. They have, with their embassy of India all over the country, has started your International Day of Yoga. And International Day of Yoga, you'll see, and we are, me, Rajan, and a lot of yoga masters are involved in that. So here it is. Narendra Modi was giving the talk first that in September 27 in 2014, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, during an address session, has asked the General Assembly, about 50 countries, including US, Russia, and China, approved it. But remember, somebody must have brought it up to Prime Minister Modi. I know he's a yoga practitioner, but to make it International Day of Yoga, there must be some work was going behind the scene. So that's what I was going to tell you, what work was going behind the scene. October 14th was another day when United Nations General Assembly held an informal consultation to get a draft resolution before the December meeting. in that speech in Narendra Modi on the General Assembly, he said, this is a beautiful session and you can look at it, and this has been quoted everywhere in the yoga community. Yoga is an invaluable gift to India's ancient tradition, embodies unity of mind and body, thought and action, restraint and fulfillment, harmony between man and nature, holistic approach to health and well-being. It is not about an exercise, but to discover the sense of oneness with yourself, the world and the nature. By changing our lifestyle and creating consciousness, it can help in well-being. Let us work together, adopting the International Day of Yoga. Modi was always up in front. In Indian history, the Department of Health, and during March of 1995, had a department called Indian System of Medicine and Homeopathy. That was the name. And in March of 2002, it changed the name to Ayush. Ayush became Ayurveda, Yoga, Unani, Siddha, and Homeopathy. It was traditional system of healing, but it was still under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. When Modi, after his lecture to the United Nations, remember that was in September, in November, he created a separate ministry of Ayush, with the Sripad Nayak, who was the minister, and he's still, now actually he is regarded as a minister of yoga. The first International Day was observed in June 21st, 2015, and Ayush, actually Prime Minister Modi gave a sort of like a blank check to Ayush that go ahead and spread it all over the world through the Embassy of India. He led the first session in first International Day of Yoga, and it was a wonderful session. And look at these people here. He did it in Rajpath in New Delhi. There was a 2 Guinness Book of Record was set. 35,000 people participated from 84 countries. This is a picture from China. You can see how coordinated they are. Is each person there in China doing in the first International Day of Yoga. I'll show you a few more pictures in China also, so how they're in. So on the first International Day of Yoga, the Ministry of Ayush started a common yoga protocol, and this is a protocol. And you all have it. If you don't have it, you can Google it, and you will see that this is the one your Embassy of India is proposing. We had the first International Day of Yoga, the Embassy of India in Washington, D.C., which Rajan was really the mover and shaker for that. And at the time, we had our ambassador Arun Singh was also very proponent of yoga, and this was the whole day. But it was in the National Mall. Look at the US National Mall by the Embassy of India. Here is the people doing yoga in the National Mall in front. This is International Day of Yoga, and Rajan is somewhere I know. And this is the ambassador Arun Kumar Singh, very, very much proponent of yoga at the time. I was also a speaker at the time. This is the one which showing that in the mall. But behind the scene, what happened? Rajan is also part of it. This is a person from Portugal, and he goes by the name Jagadguru Amrit Suryananda. He first started called the World Yoga Day as a summer solstice in June of 21st in 2001. And he started inviting all the yoga masters of the world. Here he is, and I'm with him, and we are in the outside, we're doing a practicing. Very interestingly, when you practice in June 21st, it is called the summer solstice. Sun is in the top, your shadow stays in the same place. It doesn't move. When you do the yoga, it's called really the sthiram sukham, practicing on this in this day. You can see Jagat Guru invited most of your practitioner. So here it is. This is in 2013. I was invited twice, 2012 and 2013. Me and Rajan was there together in 2013. You can name it. This is Harley Tellis. It's me. Rajan is here somewhere. This is Agent Nagendra. Anybody. This is your Amrit Desai, Subodh Tiwari. And year after year, he continued every year as a, World Yoga Day. This was in 2012. This is here representing, Rajan is on the next one probably. So I presented a paper called Yoga Therapy from Research to Treatment. And this was the 2013 we presented. There is another, all the masters are here. So I took a talk on yoga therapy for hypertension and cardiac problem. And he was consistent every June 21st on the weekend. He was presenting, and everybody, the yoga masters were there, was being introduced to this day on June 21st. So all the Indian yoga masters, they met on December 4 to 5th on 2011 at Bengaluru, India, and they proclaimed June 21st as a World Yoga Day. At the time, because Iyengar was alive, here is Dr. Nagendra, this is Ravi Shankar, this is Swami Ramdev, Jagat Guru is still there. From Portugal, he came. And Gangadhar is there from Nimhans, here's Subodh Tiwari. I know these are really the yoga masters who adopted the day on the June 21st. And then what happened, H.N. Nagendra, who was the yoga teacher of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, started telling him. But when you look back, even in the United States, in June 21st, there was a yoga session in the Times Square. This is the Times Square going on, and exactly on June 21st. Yeah, many of the yoga centers in this country did a 108 sun salutation on June 21st. So remember, this June 21st is being sort of groomed from almost in year 2000. So when Modi brought it up, it was already 14 years in the work. So December 11, 2014, out of 193 members, 177 members approved, establishing the International Day of Yoga. And Jagat Guru, Swami Amrit Suryananda, he was present during the United Nations General Assembly. He was thought he might have to give a vote, but there was none. Here he is and present during December 11th. And there was Ayush has started doing the same thing in India. They started doing during the second International Day of Yoga, they're promoting a program which is called International Conference, and it was a Vigyan Bhavan in New Delhi in 2016. I was also invited there at the time. I presented a paper called Integration of Yoga in Healthcare Delivery System. This was their whole setup from Ayush. And remember, Ayush has a tremendous amount of funding from the ministry. And this is a wonderful conference, the site. And here is the whole conference set up. And here he is the mover and shaker for this International Day of Yoga. Because H.N. Nagendra was a prime minister of yoga teacher, and he brought it up to the prime minister, and he's exactly the behind International Day of Yoga. This is this is all made of flowers. This isn't for your 80 delegates came from 35 countries. You have 1,500 Indian yoga yoginis, and just pushing through all your embassy of India. Is exactly on the same second International Day of Yoga. Here it is, Ayush had gone. This is the Connaught Place in New Delhi. And people might know, this is one of the famous place in Delhi, and Connaught Place, all with the flower. They put down International Day of Yoga, 21st June 2016, New Delhi municipality. So there was a promotion after promotion. This is the thing Ayush was promoting. I'm sure Rajan has one too, and I have one. And that just want to just finish you with a few slides for you to understand what is the impact of yoga in the whole world now. This is the first International Day of Yoga. Look, it is in the Middle Eastern countries. And Saudi Arabia is doing a yoga. Indonesia is doing a yoga. You name it, this was a fascinating on the first International Day of Yoga in Paris. This is just underneath the Eiffel Tower. And these are all the same color, yellow color yoga mats. And these are the people doing yoga and laying down. Look at the design they made. This is only by the French. This is in Spain, celebrating the first International Day of Yoga. In New York, look at this. This is the United Nations building. On the first International Day of Yoga, they put down a picture, somebody doing yoga called International Day of Yoga. And this is obviously in Times Square. They just blocked the Times Square on June 21st, the yoga in United States. This is obviously who can be more coordinated. This is in China. The first International Day of Yoga, look at the Chinese doing yoga, all color coordinated. And this is in South Africa. I can go on and on, but because of the time, I said I just take only 13 minutes. If anybody has any question, I'll be glad to answer. And let me unstop sharing.
Let's give a big round of applause to Dr. Sarkar.
Thank you.
I wasn't aware of all these things.
No, nobody is aware of it.
That's very nice of you to do it for us.
Yeah,
now, a brief question may be asked if it is a burning question. Otherwise, the time is running out.
Please proceed. Please proceed.
I think,
Rajan, do you have any comments to make on this? Rajan?
No, everything is perfect. What can I say?
No, I said you were in the part of it. That's what I'm saying,
No,
He is the instrument.
See, what happens is when you're part of it and you know the history, you don't think too much about it. I didn't realize how many people didn't know about it.
Oh, yes. I have a really experience. Most of the people don't know it. You'll be surprised. Thank you.
Dr. Sarkar, thank you so much for sparing such a valuable time for all of us and educating us. Thank you so much.